Hi, and welcome to Broker Tools, where we unpack the tools, systems, and strategies that help brokers optimize the way they work. I'm Katie, your host, and today we are catching up with Victoria from Credit Fix Solutions. For those of you who don't know what Credit Fix Solutions is, it's the place you go if your client has had bad credit and needs a solution to fix it. If you have been looking to partner with someone who can help you repair your client's credit score, Credit Fix Solutions might be the partner for you. Victoria, welcome to the pod. It's so great to have you here.
So great to be here. Thanks, Katie.
You are most welcome. One of my favorite ways to start is almost like going back in time, because most people don't start in offering this as a service. There's been an entrepreneurial journey. There has been something that came across your pathway that led you into beginning this actual lifestyle. What happened for you?
Oh, I don't think we have time. If you have time for maybe 4 podcasts, we could probably get through it all. But let's just say that I've learned to be a bit of a chameleon in life, just because of a bunch of curveballs that have been thrown my way since childhood, and there have been many. It's made me very resilient and very strong. And at my core, my value is I want to help others. And how do I leave the planet a better place than what I found it? And hence why I got into the credit repair world and started Credit Fix Solutions 12 years ago, because there was no space that was safe for consumers or brokers to go to when it came to credit reporting. And so I said to myself, crazily, of course, I'll do the work and then I'll get paid for it, right? So it was the very first no-win, no-fee credit repair firm. And it's built out organically. I've built it through building relationships with finance brokers. It's never been about money. 80% of my week is just being legal aid and giving out free education. I built my law firm, so Credit Fix Lawyers, back in 2019 as well. So we do have our partner law firm, but I think it's that inbuilt in me, that fight for others because of what I've been in through, that's led me to this point.
Nice. And I guess, everybody does go through that part where I noticed something that wasn't great for me. So I'm now going to implement this other amazing solution for others in the process. When it comes to, I guess, credit repair as a process, there's a lot of highly sensitive personal data and financial information being shared. How do you take someone through that journey? Because obviously we want to protect the data, but they want to be able to trust you with that information as well.
Yeah, it's a great point. And of course, as a business owner, you need to do your compliance and your basic, anti sort of cyber attack courses, which I've put all of my staff through. When we're thinking of retaining information, not that we collect any financials, so we're not, offering finance. So we're not collecting pay slips, or other, tax returns and things like that. But we are collecting the credit report and personal information. So 2-factor authentication, obviously, over absolutely everything in the business. Everybody completing the cyber course, doing, friendly reminders to teams, making sure, laptops are updated, that we've got really good IT protection. So I've got my IT team that I have to pay for. There's so much you have to pay for to make sure that you're protecting people's information, but then deleting it out of systems as well. So ensuring, at the 7-year mark that absolutely everything's deleted. But even when we finish work for a client, although we've got 2-factor for our CRM and it's all, they say it's secure, right? But you don't know if you're ever going to be a victim of an attack, or their systems will get attacked. So we, even in our CRM, once we finish work, which is about a 6-week process, we actually go in and delete all of their personal ID info, so driver's license and date of birth, etc.
Okay, nice. And so ultimately, with your processes, is it mostly stored on the cloud and not even in your own laptops? Because that's, I guess,
Correct.
Correct.
So nothing is ever stored locally. It's all securely in the cloud and it's all password protected. But it's probably just the credit report that we get, but we still password protect them anyway.
Yeah. And I guess, at the end of the day, it is a process of making sure that data is secure throughout it. And at this moment in time, how do you use AI? Because that is obviously a big concern with people. And I'm not sure how much AI is involved in the process for you.
Yeah, I mean, when we're speaking to people who've gone through a life event or, maybe, loss of business, loss of loved one, etc., severe illness, and they've got something that's on their credit report that they're okay now, but it's impacted them emotionally, mentally, financially. I can't AI any of that, because say you call me and you need help with your credit report, you want to speak to a person. And the amount of times, there's three of us in the assessments team, the amount of times that people say to me, oh, it's just so great just to be able to call someone and have a chat. So for us at Credit Fix Solutions, AI isn't a tool that we use throughout the onboarding process, throughout the assessment process, through the client experience. It's all, here's our phone numbers, right? Because we want them to be trusting us. They're trusting us with a really important job. If we're not successful, potentially they can't buy their home for another 5 years. So it's like, oh, okay, no responsibility, no stress. But that's all very human. I don't see AI taking over any of that. Where I have used AI, which I'm sure a lot of other business owners have, is for mapping out what my marketing looks like for 3 months, or building or getting ChatGPT to understand me as Victoria Costa, as the CEO of Credit Fix Solutions, what my values are, going in and learning me. So all the things I've put online and articles I've written, and then helping me with an idea to, sort of just map it out, or with mapping out, for example, what my next trip looks like. So we just bought a caravan and we're going around the country and we're visiting finance brokers. I don't want to spend 2 days researching caravan parks and all the rest of it. So for myself as a business owner, it's not for the client journey, but it's definitely there as a planning tool, which has saved me hundreds of hours today. It's been fantastic.
Oh, nice. Actually, you say caravanning and now I'm like, oh, because I do love like a van life type thing.
It is so much fun. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh my God.
it's great. Like we stuck, there's like a little, I got ChatGPT to create a little image of me and hubby, because he works in the business with me. We've stuck that on the caravan. We've logoed it. We've got the website on the back and QR codes. And when the guy came out to put the, all the stickers on, he's like, I've never done this before, and I've been doing this for years. He's like, this is a great idea. So I think we're the only logoed caravan in the country. So if you ever see us, driving down the road, give us a beep.
Yeah. Oh, you should say honk if you want to protect your credit or something like that.
It should.
That would be hilarious. But getting back on track to, I guess, real issues around credit, what are, I guess, some of the most common mistakes you see people go through, and I guess that whole process of making it one, obviously you don't want to get there in the first place, but if you are there, how do you fix it?
So I think I just said before at the start that about 80% of the time I'm legal aid. So a lot of times you can't fix it. So to protect your credit report and score, it's really important to get yourself educated, because of the data sets that commonly come across our table that we just can't fix. It's all governed under legislation, namely the Privacy Act, Credit Reporting Code, and the most common things we see that we can't fix, that if people just learn. So I'm really happy people are listening to this today, because they can proactively protect their credit report moving forward, is missing a repayment. The amount of times I get a credit report and it's just, they've missed their monthly payment. It's happened to professionals in my industry. They've missed a payment. That sits on your credit report for 2 years and drops your score right down to the point where potentially you can't get finance for that 2 years. And it's simply because you missed a bill or the email went to junk. So making sure that you're keeping on top of all your repayments, your loans. How are you receiving your statements? Have you just moved address? The amount of times I see people with a small, electricity default or an energy default simply because they moved and didn't tell the energy provider. Well, I can't remove that either. And a default is 5 years. And the other common problem that I'm seeing, which people need to be educated on, are the amount of inquiries that they're doing. So Equifax and Experian, the credit reporting agencies, they have algorithms set in the back. I'm sure you can probably explain that better than I can, being the SEO guru. But from my knowledge, these algorithms are set by people to give us a guide of what's reasonable and what's not from consumers. And their guide is, they expect us to do maybe 3 or 4 inquiries over 12 months and no more. So a lot of people are going in and not realizing the impact they're having if they're shopping around online. And very often we have, and this is for the younger generation too, that it's so easy to get on your phone and they think they're doing the right thing because they're shopping around for the right personal loan interest rate. But every time they've done that, an inquiry is hit on their credit report and it drops a score because the algorithms in the back go, that's not normal behavior. Why has Victoria applied for a personal loan 6 times in a day? Victoria must be high risk. And that inquiry pattern sits there for 5 years. So we're having to tell people every day of the week, which I won't get into that now, but that's why I created a school program, right? Because I feel like a parrot. I'm endlessly saying the same thing. And if we just taught this in schools, it wouldn't need to happen. But I am working on that on the side as my passion project, right? Because everyone says to me when I say I can't fix it, you've just missed a repayment or you've got too many inquiries over a short period of time. Their response is always, well, I didn't know that, right? So those are all the common things. The ones that we do on board that we can fix, for example, you've had a dispute with a supplier, you've had a life event, you've got a default or a court action on your credit report. They're listed for 5 years. Those are the ones usually we're taking on because we know, given the level of experience, I've run thousands of cases over the last, many, many years in industry. We know that we can remove those most likely. Fees are payable once we remove it, but that makes a massive difference for people because say they have a default on their report that's listed a year ago, they still have 4 years where they can't get any traditional lending. So there's no personal loans, no credit cards. You probably can't go to a major bank for a home loan. What does that mean? Well, it means if you buy a property, you've got really high interest rates and possibly you can't service for them anyway. So removing something like that is what we usually take on and we do have success with and it does make a huge difference with lending options.
Yeah. And what I realize is that as a broker, if you do have what we call front end widgets, so things that people going through on your website to do, the way to limit the hits is to do a soft hit rather than a hard hit on that, because that can make all the difference in the amount of inquiries, because some people are filling in the widgets not realizing that they actually send it all the way through to a hard hit versus a soft hit.
Exactly right. And if government would just change the legislation so that credit providers could do a soft inquiry, we would solve all of these problems. But of course, you need government to pick up these projects and action them. There was a credit reporting framework reform in 2024, and a bunch of recommendations were laid out by the independent consultant, Heidi, but of course, nothing's been picked up yet. So we could protect consumers from those hard hit inquiries, but it's up to government to change the system.
Sorry, we can't help right now in that process, but
no.
Again,
Maybe
these are possible solutions. I know, and I guess more so with asset finance, it's a little bit easier to do a soft hit than it is, but I'm not quite sure how to do that with, I guess, a mortgage or commercial side of things at this moment in time. But again, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do here is look at that whole process. When a credit is bad, what solutions are available? What could a broker actually do to help their client if they are in a situation like that?
Yeah, well, we have a guide on credit reporting. So if anybody listening wants to grab a copy of that, it's completely free. It's a 3-pager on how to get, how to read, and how to fix or improve your credit report. So a lot of our brokers who refer to us, they use that as a guide. If you grab a copy, you can just pull it apart and use it as you want for education, because that's important as well for clients. Secondly, a broker can let their client know, look, if you don't agree with the data sets that are on your credit report, you can reach out to those lenders that have listed those data sets. So consumers are able to raise a request to a lender to question whatever it is on there that they don't think is right. The other thing that brokers can do for their clients is to steer their clients towards the actual credit reporting agencies. So Equifax and Experian both run their own corrections sort of work. It's not great, but it's a basic service. So they will just ask, say if you've got a default and you don't agree with it, you can't get hold of the credit provider. Okay, so you lodge your correction request up to Equifax. Mind you, that doesn't remove it from everywhere else. So you have to do that across, Experian and Equifax. But all the corrections team asks for are the default warning notices. So if you've had a dispute, if you've had hardship, if there are other circumstances, Equifax aren't going to help you with that. So the third thing that brokers can do is, if they want to, they can, for example, flick us the credit report with their client's details. We will run through the credit report with their client. What we find that helps brokers with is time. And that's the one thing that none of us get back, right? Is time. So sending us a credit report will give the broker and the client a yes or a no within 2 business hours. And at least then the broker knows, under their best interest duty, if they're writing consumer, that they have at least tried to offer something so they don't have to give those clients really expensive lending options.
Nice. And I think the other part that I've noticed along the journey is, with those solutions, I guess, buy now, pay later is probably another consideration that most people have to go through. What would you recommend in that type of situation?
Oh, you're bringing all my I'm going to start complaining sort of questions,
I hit like the little trigger buttons.
Little trigger, like, buy now, pay later. Look, buy now, pay later is great. And, society in general have pivoted towards buy now, pay later because it makes more sense for families, instead of getting credit cards or personal loans. Say, for example, mum and dad, they need to get braces for kids. That's never a cheap exercise. And then the dentist offers them 4 repayment options. Well, that's your buy now, pay later. And it makes sense for families to spread that cost out, especially when you've got everything else to pay. How are you going to afford 10 grand in one hit just for braces? So from their perspective, I believe it's a great product. And for families and people out there needing, to pay something over 4 payments, well, that's great and it makes it manageable. But because it hasn't been regulated, I believe it's being regulated now, but because it hasn't been regulated, so they don't have to check if you can afford the facilities, how many other facilities that you have. Consumers can go and really dig themselves into a big hole, right? With several buy now, pay later loans, they're paying off things left, right, and center. So really, even though they might be earning $700 that week, 300's already gone because of all of the existing buy now, pay later accounts they've got. So if we can get to the point where it's more regulated, and it stops consumers from overspending, then it's a good thing. From a credit report perspective, the frustrating thing is, and again, this comes back to, and I'll just call them nerds, and I'm a nerd, I love nerds, so it's not derogatory, but because those nerds at Equifax set up the algorithms to say that buy now, pay later inquiries are low grade or high risk lending, just one inquiry, one buy now later purchase, that puts an inquiry on the credit report and you lose 100 points. Now, for reference, with your Equifax score, you have 1,200 points. If you do a mortgage home loan application with a bank, you probably won't lose anything. And once you start paying it, you'll actually gain points with repayment history information. But I've seen reports where they've done absolutely nothing wrong other than they've done 2 buy now, pay later purchases across 2 months, and their scores dropped from good, so around 700, down to 400 or 500. And then they can't get any lending option.
That's insane.
Insane.
Yeah. Sorry, we can't fix that. But I guess.
Sorry, I know. See, you're just throwing stuff at me. Sorry, we can't fix it. But look, if you're listening out there today, just try and limit your inquiries. Try and save up and buy. I know that's really old school, but I am kind of old. So saving up and buying, and it also looks much better on your bank statements. the teams at banks and other lenders, they don't want to see buy now, pay later purchases and Uber Eats purchases. Keep your statements clean, and start that process, 12 months out before you want to buy a property or buy a car, whatever you're trying to do with your wealth creation journey, right? So the fix is to understand and not do it.
Yeah.
Right? If you can, and again, I'm not calling buy now, pay later bad, because I think it is a good resource for families, but with the systems we've got, it just doesn't look good.
Yes, and I guess these are the considerations to have. And if I guess people are doing for example, a first home buyer's journey, and especially with people coming out of high school, you'd want to, which I know that you're really passionate about, is educate the process. And I know that you're going out to schools and teaching it, but do you also offer like digital online education as well?
Yeah, so we've developed a course for brokers on Teachable that's available, which is modules where brokers can go in and they can learn all things credit reporting if they like. We're in the process now of creating that for consumers on Teachable. That should be ready, I would say, by April 2026. So that we will share. That's going to be free for all consumers to go in and learn. It doesn't give you everything, but it will give you the basics, right? So it's like the school program that we're running for year 10 students. There's just one or two takeaways that we have in there's lots of topics we cover, but in the credit reporting session, we show them a redacted 18-year-old credit report where she's shopped around online and done those 5 inquiries in one day and dragged her score down to 340 odd. So we share that, and a lot of the feedback from the students was, I'm not going to go online and buy things. I'm going to look after my credit report. I understand how important my credit score is now, so, and we were only giving them a couple of, just one or two things to take away on that particular subject. But yeah, no, so we have the Teachable course coming out, and we've got that guide on credit reporting. If you do an inquiry through our website, it just automated, obviously, just goes out as an email to the consumer wanting to learn more.
Nice. And I think if you do want to reach out to Victoria and partner with her and have some of that, I'm sure you would be able to help a broker out.
Of course. No, we'd love to.
No, awesome. And I guess, is there anything else that you would recommend for brokers on this journey of helping their clients have, I guess, good credit keeping?
Yeah, I always believe, and even if a broker has a client who they have beers with, have a coffee with, they think they know really well, to always check the credit report as a first thing. It's not even a want anymore. It's a must. It's a tool that a broker can use to analyze and quickly get to lending options. So getting that credit report, I know it's $10, and if a broker ever says to me, yeah, but it's $10, and I trust Joe Blogs and he's been to me before, I say, well, is 10 hours of your time over 4 weeks getting a loan packaged up worth $10? So get that $10, $20 cost out of your head as a broker. See it as best interest duty. Get the credit report through your aggregator platform, however you can get that, and go through it with your client and make sure they're understanding the data sets on there.
Yeah, because I guess if they're looking for the future of the growth of the particular client, then this is where maintaining that credit score can really help with the next investment property or other investments that they choose to use lending products for.
Yeah, you've really hit the nail on the head, because I find a lot of brokers, and all of us really, we're quite transactional, right? So it's all about, okay, what's happening now? But by sharing some tips and some education with your client, you're exactly right. That's what we say to all of our brokers, is think about a year's time, think about 2 years' time. The old saying, give a man a fish or teach him to fish, right? Teach your clients to fish. Don't just give them the fish. And you create better clients, better lending options, and they'll appreciate that, because I can tell you now there's a lot of brokers who are not doing that.
Yeah, and obviously here at Broker Tools, we're always all about how to optimize the way you work. We love a bit of revenue ops. So, however you can cross-sell, upsell in the best interest of your client is ultimately the goal. Because if you're, and the way I've always seen it is, we're just entrepreneurs dressed up in whatever skin that we want to have. I obviously do CRM design. You are doing credit fixes. You're as a broker, you're trying to find finance solutions. And I guess the repeatable part of finance solutions is that most people will want it on repeat once they get to a new stage of their growth. And so the only way to do that is to make sure that they have a good credit score, and that they can maintain it so that they can continue to go down that growth pathway and find other extra financial solutions that meet their actual personal goals and desires.
Exactly right. Systemize it, just make it part of your process. Tick that box, move on.
Nice. If people wanted to reach out and talk to you a little bit further and nerd out, where should they go and what should they do?
Basically everywhere. No, I'm just kidding. No. What do you want? Do you want TikTok? Do you want YouTube? Do you want LinkedIn? No. Best way is to go to the website, so creditfixsolutions.com.au. You can also find me on LinkedIn and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on there as Credit Fix Solutions, so you'll find me very easily. I think I'm the only person in industry with the surname Costa, so Coster. Just look me up. I'm happy to connect, happy to have a chat, organize a meeting, even training sessions for brokers teams, right? So they might have a bunch of people in their team who aren't really up to date with credit reporting. We offer educational training sessions for brokers. We've got events. We're calling them Been There, Funded That across Australia, which I love. That's Zarko, our industry engagement manager, runs those. So he's always coming up with wonderful names for our events. So they're in person. We get lenders in, we get other support service providers in, we organize CPD points. Obviously, we've got to organize coffees for an event called Been There, Funded That. But they're really great ways for brokers to get out and meet other brokers. So many brokers who I've made friends with over the years, they're by themselves. Get out and come to one of our events and you'll find them all on our website.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Victoria, for joining me on this pod. Anybody who's listening, if you do have comments or questions, feel free to put them down below. Do all the good things like and share. And feel free to reach out to Victoria or myself if you need anything else. Again, thank you, Victoria, for joining us.
Thank you, Katie.
You're welcome. Bye.